Sabres finally got a win, but they've got a lot more work to do to keep the long-term questions at bay. We'll run through all the rumors and reports and also what I've been hearing about the long-term for the Sabres coming up here in the Locked On Sabres podcast.
Your Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody, and welcome into this Thursday edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you listen to your podcast. You can check us out on our YouTube channel where you can watch the show. Be sure to do that. Hit the like and subscribe button. You can also be a part of our Locked On Sabres text club, which was a lot of fun yesterday for sure. And if you want to become a part of that, you're just texting, group chat, but you got to sign up online first. You go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnSabres. Today's episode is presented by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Sneaky Joe DiBiase, Sabres finally got the win. If you missed our recap of the 8-4 victory over the Ottawa Senators, be sure to check that out in the feed. Go back to yesterday's show and check it out. It was a very fun night. I don't know how meaningful the game is, now that we are about 24 hours from the result. You'll look back on it, and I think, okay, that was fun. It is not, to me, totally changing my opinion about what they're going to be this season, but it absolutely is a step in the right direction. It's nice to see them have a little bit of energy. And one point that I'm not sure I really made yesterday that is worth getting to here before we get to some of the rumors and the rundown and what I'm hearing about the Sabres right now is that game last night. While you're not going to win games like that every night, you play a bad goaltender, you didn't have a million shots, but you showed energy and the belief in the room. While I will snicker at that on most teams, on this team, it probably does actually mean something because of the history of the organization, because of the history that the players have already gone through. I mean, again, Dahlin, Tage have been around for half the drought, that it would be very easy to get sucked into all the negativity and to win a game like that, even if it's not totally meaningful on the outside for what you're going to do. On the inside, if it's meaningful to them, then I do think that matters, because you don't want these players playing in a depressive state. And hopefully that doesn't happen after a win like that last night. So a lot to get to on today's show. The GM, the players, the important players, Alex Tuch and his negotiation, something I heard about that we'll get to. A lot coming up on today's show. Let's start, though, as we kind of go through, what is on the line here? The Sabres need to keep winning, not just to break the playoff drought. That's number one, most important. Not just to keep the fans happy. That's there too. The players happy. But also, on a lesser extent, keep the long-term questions about you away. Every win you have, the fewer and fewer people are going to line up to question what's going to happen with you and whether players are going to want out and are people going to get fired and so on and so forth. Winning keeps that away. Now, some things that we heard in podcasts this week from some of the guys that are plugged in the league. I heard Elliotte Friedman talk about this being a very big week for the Buffalo Sabres on 32 Thoughts. When talking about the organization, when talking about Adams, and even mentioning Jarmo Kekalainen as a potential replacement for Kevyn Adams already being in the organization, he called this a really big week. And I took that and thought, Friedman might know something. And I wonder if he's, wink, wink, telling us they better win a few games this week or else the GM, he's cooked and he's out of here. So I thought that immediately when he said it. And it's not the only thing we've heard about Kevyn Adams this week. And I fully believe, too, that if they got off to a very, very poor start, that the GM was going to be the first to go. And I haven't seen anything different out there from these media guys. Jeff Merrick. Not Jeff Merrick. I want to get to Bruce Garriock, who is well, Ottawa Sun, this is not even a national guy, but different guys in the league hear different things. And what he said this week, or what he said yesterday even, was that I do think that the first domino to fall will be Kevyn Adams, and I do think that Jarmo Kekalainen will land as the GM of that team. I don't think that they will fire Lindy Ruff. That was from Bruce Garriock yesterday. That is, I think, not maybe saying a lot, because I think that's the assumption for many, but there it is, kind of laid out there in public, that Adams would be the first to go. And that's expected. Now, Kekalainen, hear him over here. We hear him over there. Friedman talking about Kekalainen. That is, I would just be so surprised if they were to move off of Kevyn Adams early in the year and hire anybody whose name wasn't Jarmo Kekalainen. Like, this is part of why I think he's here. Part of why he was willing to take the job. A seasoned hockey executive that has many years of experience being a general manager. Why would he, with no prior working relationship with the Sabres front office, why would he be willing to sign up for being a senior advisor to Kevyn Adams? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, it does if you put yourself in Kekalainen's shoes. He's trying to be a GM in the league again. And if there's no GM job out there, there's no team that wants you right now, why not sign up for a role in the organization of a team that's got a GM that is going into either a lame duck year or is one bad losing streak away from getting fired? For his own career, it's actually what you should do if there's not a job available out there for you. So that's the other thing that was said about GM this week, is that it would be Jarmo. Merrick yesterday mentioned, I wonder if he takes John Tortorella with him. Now, I mentioned that yesterday too, that wouldn't happen this year. And I'm not even sure that would happen next year. It's the natural name that will get mentioned. And I think you'll hear a lot of that if he becomes the GM. And I think at some point he will become the GM. I just wonder what the timing of that really ends up being. If they make the playoffs, he doesn't, but we'll see. Jarmo and Torts. The reason that's mentioned is Tortorella was hired by Jarmo in Columbus and coached for many seasons there and took them to the playoffs and won a huge round against Tampa in the postseason. And that's kind of the coach that Jarmo ends up going for a lot, which is why I don't think he would fire Lindy, because I think Lindy is in that mold. But his last head coach hire before it got scrapped because he's a terrible person and people called that out and they had to hire somebody else, was Mike Babcock. Mike Babcock was the last coach that Jarmo tried to hire. And that was a couple of years after Tortorella had been the head coach. So that's typically the type of coach that Jarmo goes for. It's part of why I think if we do end up in a situation where he's the GM, in the short term, I don't think Lindy is going anywhere. Maybe after a year, they'd make a change to a guy like Torts, who is available right now. But I don't think that's happening anytime soon. The coach change. The GM change, again, let's see. Let's play this day by day. Let's play this game by game, month to month, maybe not even month to month, maybe week to week. And the last point on this that I want to make, that this is more my opinion, that I think is critical to the decision here. And it'll be very fluid as to where they are in the standings. Because if they're in a playoff spot, then you're not worried about this. If they are maybe even as solidified, looking like they're going to make the playoffs, like they're 8 points ahead. I mean, what kind of existence does that sound like right now? Then we're not talking about this. But if they're a few points back, if they are a lot of points back, 10 points back, then it no longer becomes just, hey, do you wait on Adams till after the season? It's, you got to do this now, because if you're going to make the move to Jarmo, then don't you want him to have his hands on the steering wheel as you navigate top players that might want to leave? Alex Tuch, we'll get to a little bit later on. If you don't have an extension, who do you want making the decision on whether to trade him or whether to take one last swing or take the risk of going all the way to free agency and trying to sign him? Who do you want to make that decision, which is a big decision into determining the future of the team? You probably want the next guy to make that decision, Jarmo. And at that point, you need him to be in place by the trade deadline. So Dave Pagnotta write about Bo Byram for this as well. Like maybe that's a similar decision with Bo Byram. If he's back on the trade market, who do you want deciding whether to trade Bo Byram? Who do you want deciding whether to trade or to sign Alex Tuch? What about other player movement that you want to make? I think this is why a GM change in the middle of the season would make sense if things are not going well. And again, they won last night, so we could put that off, I guess, for a little bit. When we come back, what about Rasmus Dahlin? What about Tage Thompson? Things that have been said. And I want to mention a Merrick conversation that I had not thought about when it comes to Rasmus Dahlin. And maybe a reason to think that he is going to stick around. And then what I've heard about Alex Tuch. That's coming up here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Whoa, was I off on the over-under yesterday. I went under 5.5 goals for Buffalo and Ottawa, and there were 12 goals scored. So you win some, you lose some. Still got a winning record on the season. Tonight, you got Thursday Night Football, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. So a lot of fun stuff to look at. Maybe you want to watch the game. You just want that little bit of extra rooting interest in something. There, you just look around FanDuel. Maybe you like Joe Flacco, first touchdown scorer. Something that I'm on tonight. Big odds on that one. 500 to 1 anytime touchdown. So you'd have to run that in or catch it, but that's not going to happen. But a lot of fun stuff like that you could throw on at FanDuel. A lot of fun ways to watch the game, track the games. Playoff baseball right now as well. It's a perfect time of year for sports. And right now, new customers, you bet just $5 and you get $300 in bonus bets to win. Use that on anything. Futures are always fun for those situations, or maybe you want to put it on a game. That's right. Just pick a bet. Put down $5. If it hits, $300 in bonus bets that you can use all across the app. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com, download the FanDuel app today, and get started. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Just running through some of the rumors and the reports that we're seeing from people in the league about the existence of the Sabres and the future of the Sabres and what the way forward is for them in the in this 14-year playoff drought. So, couple of things. Tage and Dahlin going to be the two players that get talked about the most if the Sabres continue to lose, and they'll be the ones that people wonder about the futures of. Tuch too, but those two of the guys that are under contract. Thompson, I really wonder about Tage. Tage, I've always had the belief that he's not the personality to, when he's on a long-term deal like this, to really be aggressive and pushing out. Maybe he would be someone that would give these slight little indicators or, softly try to get that through to management that he might like to leave. But he's not going to go demand a trade, march into the office and do that. I could be wrong on that. He's a competitive dude. But I've never really fully believed that Tage would go that far with it, at least not yet. Dahlin is, of course, the other one that we're going to wonder about a lot. The reported meeting last year between him and Kevyn Adams. There was a meeting. He just didn't say in the meeting that he wanted out. He might have given an indication that I need to see this thing turned around here. I'm playing to my caliber. Why isn't the team? What's the plan forward? He's the captain. He's the superstar. He signed up to be here for a long time. I do think he was committed and has been committed to this point, and maybe he'll be committed even further going forward, because a good thing that Jeff Merrick brought up that I had not thought about is before the year, really like almost tragic story, and she's still going through her recovery, but Rasmus Dahlin and his fiance or wife, I think wife now, had heart failure when they were vacationing in France, and she's still in Europe recovering from that. Scary situation. And Merrick said that I do think there is some loyalty with Dahlin and the Sabres for just specifically how they helped his wife in the offseason. That does go far when a team goes above and beyond. I actually don't know what he's talking about specifically. I know the Sabres, I'm sure, would have supported him in certain ways. I'm not sure what above and beyond is, but if whatever that means, like, good job by the Sabres. Like, you do that on a human level, not even worrying about what it means for the hockey team. So good that they did something like that. And that's worth pointing to, that if they've been good to him, if they've been human to him, if they've been willing to have meetings with him about the future of the organization, right? Like, not every GM would do that. Not every organization would do that. I don't know that Lou Lamoriello would do that. Old school hockey guy, like the best player wants to meet with you about what we're doing going forward. There are some GMs that might go, yeah, go back to the locker room. This is my job. You let me handle this. You play for me, and that's it. I handle trades. I handle free agency. There are a lot of guys in the sport that would do it that way. And to Adams' credit, he didn't. He met with Dahlin and they discussed that. And I think Dahlin is involved to some extent about what they're doing, or he's at least engaged in it. And I think that's a good thing. So these are all good things. I think these are all good things about Dahlin, his commitment to the team, their commitment to him. And what I just want to brace you for, though, is if the Sabres lose games this year, even if Dahlin has 0% chance of leaving, because he's loyal to the team, the city, the organization, and they're loyal to him. Even if that's true, you're going to hear it. You're going to see it. You're going to see other teams fans, media talking about trading for him. That's going to be expected. So I just want to mentally prepare you for that right now. That's going to happen because you're in a 14-year playoff drought. And if you're bad, teams are going to go after your best players. That's just what's going to happen. Doesn't mean it has to turn anything. Just know that if you're ready for a fight on that, get ready for it. Or if you want to be ready to ignore it, be ready for that too. Because if they don't win games, that's absolutely going to happen. So that's where we're at right now with those two, which, we don't really know, right? Like, it's you're picking up on as many tea leaves as you can get. But I guess at the moment, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how worried am I that they're gone after the year? I mean, there have been times where I've been like a 6, which is like, that's on my mind. And it definitely is on my mind, but I'm at like a 4 right now. It's worth tracking. It's worth thinking about, keeping an ear out for, but it's not something that I'm losing sleep over at the moment. It's not something that is waking me up in the middle of the night that, Tage and Dahlin are going to want out. It's not impossible. I'm just not in a place right now where I'm expecting it. When we come back, what about Alex Tuch? I think it's a little bit of a different story with Alex Tuch. I'll tell you why when we come back here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast is presented by Gametime. Hockey season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees at the end, those are always the worst, prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer for your team. So that's where Gametime comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. You got zone deals, big game changer. You pick the section, Gametime picks your seats, and you save big. You can even find NHL tickets for under $25. Some as low as $15 I saw for last night's game, and I'm sure that'll be true in some other games coming up. So take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Gametime. Last minute tickets too, by the way. You can walk up to the arena without a seat, and you get it right away, right in your account, and you can walk in the door without skipping a beat. Download the FanDuel Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. The Sabres, we're going to get a win over Ottawa last night, but a little look into the future as that was being discussed by everybody in the hockey world in the last couple of days. It probably settles down a little bit, I think, going into the weekend after their win over the Senators. So, people are talking about Alex Tuch. Here's something that I'm hearing about Alex Tuch. A lot of vibes right now. The agent's out there talking a little bit. The sense that I get in the Alex Tuch sweepstakes right now is that Alex Tuch wants to win with the Buffalo Sabres. That in his heart of hearts, his perfect scenario is he wants to stay. He wants to sign a big money deal to stay here in Buffalo and win with the Sabres. However, he's 30. And if the team does not give him reason to believe that they are going to win anytime soon, that there's no amount of love for the Buffalo Sabres that could get him to sign up for losing for the rest of his career. He's a competitive dude. A lot of these guys are. He's one of them. And he loves the Sabres. He grew up a fan of this team. And I think it would even in some ways crush him that if he had to leave without having it work here. That's the sense that I get. That's kind of how I would feel about it. If I were a great NHL player like he is from the area, grew up a Sabre fan, loved the team, got traded there, was super hyped up to fix it, go through 5 years, not fix it, and feel like you got to go before it's been solved, that'd be kind of crushing, I think. But I do think if the team is really bad by the middle of the year, that he's not signing up for this. He's not going to commit the rest of his career to a team that he doesn't think is going to get him to the playoffs, doesn't get him to the Stanley Cup. So that's where we're at with Alex Tuch at the moment. I think my guess is it would probably only take a middle of the road team, like in the hunt. They don't have to make it, but in the hunt by the deadline. I'm not sure you'll have an extension by then, but maybe you'll have an indication from him that I'm willing to stay. And then that'll become a conversation if there's no deal struck by the trade deadline as to, well, do you risk it? He's telling us that there's a really good shot, or even that he's committed and wants to stay here, but we don't have pen to paper, and we got to decide now if we want to trade him for a first-round pick and a top prospect, or we want to risk losing him for nothing, carry him through the rest of the year. Maybe we make the playoffs. Maybe we don't make the playoffs. A lot of really interesting conversations that I think would branch off of the Alex Tuch situation if he is unsigned as we get closer and closer to the deadline. At the moment, though, like I'm not thinking that there's any deal that's coming in the next couple of days. Like this is a middle of the year contract if it comes at all. Or again, he might just need to be proven that the team can win. If they were to go on a big win streak, 8, 9 games, 10 games, they went on a 10-game win streak once upon a time in this drought, something unseen like that would get him to sign right away. I think that's possible. But, what are the odds of that? What are the odds they're going to rattle off a 7 or an 8-game win streak? It's not 0, but I'm not super confident that that's what we're headed for at the moment. If you've got a comment or you got a question about the future, the landscape that surrounds the Sabres right now, everything is kind of on shaky ground. Right? This is loose soil that the Sabres are standing on, thin ice. And the more wins they get, the thicker the ice gets. But it's definitely going to be something that's going to be the theme of the season, because this is not like last year. This is not like the year before that or the year before that, where they're being patient and there's a lot of young guys and their expectations aren't as high. This is different. This is, you got to win. You got to win right now. And what happens between right now, October 16th, and the trade deadline, which I believe is in March, usually is, between now and March, what happens with the Sabres on the ice is going to shape the next 5 years. It really is. If it goes great, then you keep going and you hope that you get the monkey off your back and guys are willing to stay and there's more belief for the long term, and then maybe more players are willing to come to you. Everything could be better. And if you lose and you're bad and you're not in the race, then there's a possibility that a lot of it gets torn down. Maybe not all of it, maybe not Dahlin and Tage, but a lot else. Tuch, Byram, who else? Who knows what else? Adams, of course, as well. That's going to do it for us today here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. If you're looking for more hockey talk, be sure to check out Locked On NHL Game Night. They've got you covered every day, every game that's going on around the league. They're available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Fantasy Hockey is a great listen right now as well. You can check them out wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to set those lineups on a daily basis. Fantasy hockey is a lot of fun. And we will talk to you tomorrow here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. We're getting you ready for Sabres and Panthers, which is coming your way on Saturday afternoon. So talk to you then. Enjoy the weekend. We'll talk to you during the weekend, though. So stay tuned here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.